Believe we can be flying. I believe we are live. I believe we are live. This is FSPN. I am Frankie from Flatbush. It's 1800 on the East Coast on January 27th, 2026. As of today, the New York Jets have fired Tanner Engstrand, their offensive coordinator. They now no longer have an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and many other persons on the staff. They've had a defensive coordinator position open for a long, long time. And yet, they have not filled that position. So we're coming live to you on a Tuesday night, a Tuesday news day, because the Jets are making big moves. What the hell are they doing? So lots of news going on, and some perplexing news. I gotta tell you, did not think Tanner Engstrand deserved to be fired or would be fired. But now things are looking kind of chaotic. Let's be honest. Let's see if people can hear me in the chat. Salami is here. Live. All right, so let me know if you can hear me and see me. Spin Max Dave is a member of the Inner Circle. I would encourage everybody to click the join button. For $2 a month, you get quite the value. Extra items, extra breakdowns, lots of stuff. Click the join button down below. Phil the Jet Adams is here from across the pond. He's over there in England, so it's 5-6 hours ahead of our time. It's late where he is, even though it's only 6:02 p.m. where we are here. Murph is here. He's also a member of the Inner Circle. You might want to be a member of the Inner Circle by clicking the join button down below. Todd is here. Good to see Todd. Tuesday. Jimmy's a big Inner Circle guy. He likes it. Stud City 718. He's here. Audio good, picture good. All right. Lots of people coming in. Boss, girl 8. All right. Good to see you, boss girl. Got a picture of a nice little doggy. We got a doggo. Maury, we are going for broke. What kind of broke? What are we going for? That's the problem. Phil Adams, Spin Max Dave, we should never hire an Aaron again. Now, I will say, in the midst of all this bad news and confusing news, and most of the media has now taken us to task, and after all, it does appear to be a very not a very well thought out plan for whatever this offseason plan was to be. After all, you could have done a few things and everybody would have been happy. You could have fired Charles London, replaced Steve Wilkes with Wink Martindale, and that's it. Or you don't want Wink, okay, Aaron Glenn could have taken play calling for the defense, hired Chris Harris as the nominal DC, and everybody would have been like, okay, and get a new quarterback coach. All right, no problem. Made some tweaks on the staff. Okay, but we went hog wild. And now it's so late in the season, a lot of these people you would want to hire, they're going everywhere else. So that's a problem. But, what's the good news, Frankie? You might be saying, well, as of 3 hours ago, there was one member of the media who did say something positive. Can you guess what member of the media said something positive about all of these things, about the Jets firing Engstrand in particular? Which member? Tell me in the chat. Which member of the media do you think said something at least mildly positive? Because everybody else has been extremely negative, whether it's Country Club Connor, who, we could talk about him if you want, but I have a lot of things to say about him. But whether it be Zach Rosenblather, whether it be Rub It In Rich Samini, no matter who it is, of course, Brian Costello, the the man who loves Pop-Tarts more than oxygen. But all of them extremely, extremely negative. But there was one person who was not extremely negative. So we got to give credit where credit is due. So put it in the chat who you think it was. Boss Girl says, that's Phoebe, the golden retriever. Oh, well, that's a nice looking doggo, I tell you that much. Some of these doggos don't look so good. But other ones, they're nice looking. That's a nice looking one. Jimmy thinks Connor. Nope. Connor's extremely negative. Chimney, nope. Jets Worldwide, no, sir. But he's a member. So Jets Worldwide is a member of the Inner Circle. Country Club Connor is never going to be positive with Aaron Glenn. Why? Because and if you were following me on X, you would know this. I'm trying to explain it more and more on X. Country Club Connor is the leading person who, if you mess with the media, you're done. Especially if you're black. He's done this with Denzel Mims. He did it with Mekhi Becton, and now he's doing it with Aaron Glenn. So it does seem to have a racial component with Country Club, and I would say he does seem like a racist to me. But that's just my opinion. But if you mess with the media, if you don't leak information to him and other members of the media, if you confront them, ask Rich, remember that Aaron Glenn did? If you do those things, and if you're black, he character assassinates you and ends your career. That's what he basically did with Denzel Mims. That's what he tried to do with Mekhi Becton. Now he's doing it with Aaron Glenn. So it's certainly not going to be Country Club Connor toward Aaron Glenn being positive. No way. Once Glenn became prickly with the media, withholding information, not leaking information, and then directly confronting them, that was it. He was going to do his linguistic headshots because everybody has to be taught a lesson, don't you understand? The media has to teach everybody a lesson that you do not confront them, you do not withhold information from them, you leak information to them so that they can have scoops and breaking, and if you don't, linguistic kill shots right to your head. That's it. That's how the media works these days, and the best example, of course, and the most out front example, the alpha, because he's an alpha personality type, being a narcissist, is Country Club Connor Hughes. Zach Rosenblather, on the other hand, is a beta personality type, so he's a little more couched in how he does it. For example. So, no, it's not going to be Country Club. NY Jets is here. What's up? Ablab, Boomer is Esiason. Nope. If you say cow turd, I'll eat my... No, certainly wasn't cow turd. You're not going to believe who it was. None of you got it yet. Well, racist would fit in with a country club. Exactly. One of the many reasons he has the nickname Country Club Connor. Nobody ever caught on to that before, Boss Girl. You're the first. Congratulations. But the person who was somewhat positive, as of 3 hours ago, working for The Athletic, which is owned by the New York Times, which is 43% owned by narco-terrorist Carlos Slim, Dirty Diana Rossini, said this 3 hours ago, and I quote, "The Jets have a plan. ... Stay tuned. The Jets have a plan. Stay tuned," she said 3 hours ago. So I've been staying tuned, and I have not seen said plan. But it's early. We don't know what the plan is. We have no idea what the hell is going on. Except we do have reporting from other people, like Country Club Connor, about what has gone on so far. And it's not indicative that the Jets have some kind of grand plan in mind at all. But I don't know. Now, you could say lots of things about Dirty Diana Rossini, and we do here on the channel. She does, let's just say she commits journalistic malpractice on a regular basis. That being said, she's also very plugged in and she knows things. She's also based in New Jersey. She's a Jersey girl. That's part of why she's called Dirty Diana, because if you know anything about New Jersey, it's called the Dirty Jers. But the idea that she says the Jets have a plan Stay tuned is kind of a positive. And it kind of lets you know, well, there must be something more to this Tanner Engstrand firing than just Aaron Glenn smashing buttons, which is kind of what it looks like at the moment, where Glenn kind of doesn't know what to do and he's just smashing buttons. Okay, you're staying. No, now you're fired. All right, let's fire the Alonso Escalante. He got to get out of here. And I'm going to call plays. No, you're going to call plays. And Wink Martindale, he thinks he's calling plays. Then he comes here on Saturday. Now he thinks he's not calling plays. Who's calling plays? Am I calling plays? Are you calling plays? Who's calling the plays? So that's what it looks like right now. But you have Dirty Diana saying, oh, no. Don't worry, because the Jets have a plan. Hopefully it's a better plan than Dutch Vanderlin's plan in Red Dead Redemption 2. That's that poster over there, the one that's red. This one. That's Red Dead Redemption 2 over there, and that was one of the greatest movies of all time. And I say movies even though it was a video game, because it was like a movie that you play, that you're in, that you can explore. But in essence, it's kind of like a movie, and a really good Western movie. So now nobody else is picking this up that Diana said this. So Country Club and Zach Rosenblather and Dick Chimney, whenever anybody else of their reporting ilk says something negative about the Jets, they'll retweet it all day. Oh, yeah. And they'll comment on it further and so forth. But Diana says they have a plan, and nobody seems to be reacting to that. Seems like I'm the only one who noticed that she said this, which was unusual for her because, don't forget, she was the co-author of one of the worst pieces of journalistic malpractice known to man when she did an article about the Jets with Zach Rosenblather, where they interviewed 30 fired former employees of the Jets and asked them what they thought about the Jets. 30 disgruntled sources, they called it. Well, what do you think people who get fired by the Jets think about the Jets? They're not going to think very much of them. It's like a ridiculous article, leaving out important context, and that was the one that had the Jets use Madden ratings, and they left out the fact that, yeah, so do the Baltimore Ravens. As Eric DaCosta later said, things like that. Let's just leave out all the important context and make the Jets seem like a bunch of nitwits. Now, the Jets do a lot of things that make them seem like nitwits, so it's not a hard thing to do, but still, no bueno. And it goes to show that she has no love lost, or no love, really, for the Jets. So for her to say that, I think it's significant. Nobody else is picking up on it, though, which is driving me insane, because usually when one of those things happens, then the other people go, oh, wait a minute, and then they start calling their sources to figure it out, like Chimney or Rosenblather or Country Club. So where are these people picking up on the plan? Now, the other thing that was said this afternoon by Country Club and Rosenblather, and you do have to pay attention to these people because they do have sources. They did say that it does seem like part of the plan, anyway, is to hire Frank Reich, the Third Reich, and that he is going to sort of be the head coach of the offense. And that's okay by me. That's okay by me if that's part of the plan. But is Frank Reich a big upgrade over Tanner Engstrand? I don't know that. And you don't know that because Engstrand had 1 year as a play caller and didn't have any quarterback play. So how are we going to judge Tanner Engstrand? What kind of judgment criteria did we use to get rid of Engstrand? Yeah, the offense sucked. Okay. But you kind of need a quarterback. If you're going to you need balance, you need threat balance if you're going to have any kind of successful offense. Everybody knows that. Even the owner of the Jets knows that. That's what he said. So if even Woody knows it, it's probably common knowledge. And we just couldn't get the best out of Justin Fields. He was no bueno after that first game, pretty much. He had another game where he was okay, but lots of bad ones. And then, we tried to give it over to Tyrod. He got injured too much. And then eventually the season was over after we made the trades, Sauce and Quinnen. And then, we went to Brady Cook, and he was the tank commander. So how can you judge Tanner Engstrand properly? It's the same thing that Saleh did with Mike LaFleur. And it's frankly the same thing that Douglas did, Joe Douglas did when he was evaluating fucking Sam Darnold. It's like, yeah, Darnold played pretty bad when he was here. That's true. But also, he didn't have an offensive line. He didn't have any weapons, and we didn't really have much around him. So how the hell we didn't have a great play caller? How the hell can you judge Sam Darnold with that? He doesn't have anything. Uh, So the methodology of that was flawed. And not to mention, you also threw Zach Wilson into that when he was evaluating the college kids, and that was the COVID year. How are you going to evaluate any of the college guys when it was the COVID year? And Zach Wilson had one big year in college, and that was his, when he broke out, so to speak. And that was the COVID year. So how the hell can you judge that? It was such a freaky, unusual year. And yet, that was the basis for making the decision not to trade back and to trade Sam Darnold and to draft Wilson with the second overall pick, which is very risky. Meanwhile, you could have traded back and really stocked up the team. And so Douglas didn't take into account model risk. How are you making these judgments? You have to have somebody judge your model to see if it's a fair model or not. Otherwise, you'll come to wrong conclusions, which is what Douglas did. And we'll have to see what the outcome of all this is for Glenn. But as of today, where it stands now, you could have done a lot. You could have done a lot less and just, been done with it. Fire Charles London. Okay, get a new quarterback coach. Maybe you could get Chad Bennington, as I've suggested. Maybe not, but whoever. Just get somebody that makes sense, and then replace Wilkes with Martindale, and you're done. I mean, this could have been done so quickly, and everybody would have said, "Okay, that makes sense. Let's move on into the offseason." But now it's been 3 freaking weeks. All this is still going on. Sometimes we have people getting fired, and then we have people saying this guy's staying, and now he's not staying, and now he's going away, and now he's fired, and now we're here, and we don't have a DC, we don't have an OC, we got all these other positions to fill, and it's 3 weeks into the offseason, and none of this is done. It doesn't look good. Tell you that much. Doesn't look good as of right now. That was a long rant. Eisen. No. How would she know? Well, again, Phil, these people are actual reporters. They actually have sources. That's the problem. They bend the rules. They're not outright liars. They can't be like, I'll give you an example. So Tony Pauline, okay? Tony Pauline is somebody you should never, ever, 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 ever listen to. Not one time should you ever listen to him. Because they've done studies and like 75% of the things he says are dead certain to happen, don't happen. Like people have looked this up. That's how bad he is. So that's somebody who's just a faker, and just get rid of that guy, throw his opinions in the garbage. But anybody else, so that's one guy, but that's very unusual. What the good ones do is they mix in opinion, fact, source-based reporting, unsourced reporting that's their opinion but comes from unnamed sources. They call it league sources. They call it team sources. These are the tricks of the trade. It's why it's hard to know what to do with these people. It's why I do what I do. I do a little bit of filtering for you. I do a little bit of translation for you. That's why I keep begging you people to fucking follow me on X. Most of you don't, because I put up long explanations and things on there that I can't do in a video, or I guess I could. But a lot of times it needs to come out right away because it's responding to immediate news that's happening. And that's where you get a lot of the in-depth analysis of what the media is doing. Sometimes I'll do a media translation. Somebody puts something out, I'll respond, I'll quote tweet it and say, media translator says, and then I'll translate what they're saying into what it really means. You got to know who's giving them their information. If it's the agents, well, then that's going to be extremely biased. If somebody's agent is giving this guy information, that's biased information. It may be true. It may not be true. It may be half true. It may be 25% true, but it's certainly going to be biased toward their client. That's why they're giving it to the reporter. The plan? Well, let's hope not, Maury. Let's hope not. Yeah. Well, I mean, she can't do that. I mean, if she does that, I will do a whole video about Dirty Diana. But you can't, because the implication of it is that there's a good plan. Like, she's not going to come out and say the plan is to tank. The plan is to give up. The plan is to go into the CFL. Like, she can't do that. When she says there's a plan, stay tuned, she's implying that it's something good and that Jet fans will like it. That's what she's implying. I mean, if she comes out and says, "Yeah, I found out the plan. It's it's they plan to fire Aaron Glenn after next year." She can't do that. They have to have these reporters have to have some modicum of respect from people to keep their job, so they can play some games. That's why I'm saying it's tricky. You need somebody like Frankie to translate a lot of what they do, because it's not easy to tell. You can't just attack them, and also just calling them names doesn't work. I've seen plenty of people do that on X and elsewhere. That doesn't work. They just block you. Right now, Country Club Connor has me blocked, but I can still see his stuff because I'm tricky. But if the plan is, let's try to do some speculation of what the plan is. Let's go through these comments for. You sure that she wasn't? I hope not. That would be terrible. Get Kingsbury or Reich or get Leonard for DC. That's not happening. Leonard going to the Bills. Those coaches better plays. Failed at tanking and hiring. So let's see what the plan. Dick Chimney's burner. He's a member of the Inner Circle. You should be a member of the Inner Circle. It's just $2 a month. Bosco, I'm in favor of A.G. Mooj, a chance to build a roster because Douglas. Well, this is true. Pauline did not report that, Stud City. He reported that it was 50-50. Is that a report? I could say it's 50-50. So he actually said it's he might come to the Jets. But again, 75% of his shit is totally made up. And then the other 25% is obvious. Oh, Glenn was his DC over with the Lions. So if he becomes a free agent and Detroit doesn't want him, where would he go? Oh, the Jets. Is that really news? What would be the logical spot for him to go? The Jets. So that's part of his 25% that he could get right. And he could be like, look, see, I told you Anzalone was going to the Jets. First of all, I was telling you he's going to the Jets months ago. I don't have any sources. I just use logic. So let's be smarter than that, Stud City. You're supposed to be above average in this chat. We're supposed to have above average people in this chat. Now, what could actually be the plan? Let's say she's not being sarcastic. Let's say there is a plan, and it's on paper anyway, a good plan. What could be that plan? Well, what if we wind up... Now, the other reporting is that Country Club and Rosenblather seem to believe that the Jets are really, really trying hard to get Frank Reich here and that he's going to be the head coach of the offense, which I don't mind at all. The CEO idea very rarely works, and I don't think it would work with Aaron Glenn. So, because of what we've seen so far out of him, maybe in future, but right now. So if we get Frank Reich, that's not bad. Now, is he an upgrade over Engstrand? I don't know, but he's probably at least equal to him. So what was the point of firing Engstrand? I don't know. I don't like that we fired Engstrand at all. But we did. So maybe the idea is Glenn thinks that Reich is a big upgrade over Engstrand. Okay, I don't know if that's true, but let's say he comes here. At least we get a steady hand on offense who's been there, done that, been a play caller, has had success in the NFL many times over, and so there's that. So if anybody's going to turn an offense around, he could be one of those people. He's not taking a chance on a first timer. He can do it because he's done it in the past. Now it's going to come down to who the hell we get to play quarterback. And that's the problem. That's the main problem. That's the main reason I would have said to Glenn, don't fire Engstrand. He didn't have any quarterbacks. What are we going to fire him for? How are you evaluating this man? You got to give him a quarterback. I mean, any OC, he doesn't have a quarterback. How good is he going to be? But anyway, he decided to get rid of him, so he did. All right, well, maybe the plan is Reich is better. Reich is so much better than Engstrand. All right. Okay. With what quarterback? Now, maybe the plan is the Jets believe that if Reich is the coordinator, Malik Willis, is much more likely to come to us. What if that's the plan? Well, why would that be the case, Frankie? Well, as I mentioned on Coffee with Frankie on Sunday, one of the things that could tie Willis to the Jets would be if Reich is here and Glenn is here. That's two people who are devout Christians, as is Willis. Malik Willis is a very devout Christian, as is Frank Reich, and as is Aaron Glenn. So perhaps this is me really speculating. Maybe that could be one of the things they could say to the agent. Look, we got Bible study here, which the Jets do have as an option for players. We got that. We're very serious about that. That's in the player development department. And colleges have student-athlete development departments that do this sort of thing. I was just talking to the guys who do it here at UCF. So very interesting. And then we have that. We got a guy from Iowa State to run ours. And part of that is the spiritual development. And if you're a Christian, if you're a Jew, if you're whatever you are, whatever belief you got, we provide for you a time and space for, in this case, Bible study. Most religious people, I would say, in the NFL, Christianity would probably be the number one type religion, some sort of Bible-based belief system. So perhaps that's the thinking. Now, that's a stretch. I admit it. That's a stretch, but it is true. And maybe they think, or maybe they know, if Reich is here, then Willis will come here. Okay. Now you got something. Basically, if Engstrand was here, then we'd have to fight it 50-50 or 33-33 with, Miami. Miami's probably going to go after him, or might. Depends what they do with Tua. They got a lot of problems in Miami. They're over the cap right now. And and if they release Tua without doing it June 1st, he has $99 million cap hit, dead cap hit. That's crazy. But they could move things around. If they really want Willis, they can make it happen. We'll probably go for him. The Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals, could go for him. So if all of them are pretty much equal, not great situations, they're looking for QBs, all right, and the money's all the same, pretty much, then it's going to be like, how can you sell this guy and come in here? Now, I think we have the best situation out of those teams in terms of potential success for him, in terms of weapons, offensive line, running game. I think we have the best combo of those things, of those bad teams, for him to come to. And plus, if it goes up to $20 million, we could give him $20 million. That's kind of crazy. Man has started 6 games in his life in the NFL, but still, if it goes up that high, we could go there. We got the cap space, is no problem. So, maybe this is another thing. Maybe that's part of the plan. I don't know. And then, so then what if we get Reich and Willis? Okay, looking good. And then what happens is Aaron Glenn decides to call the plays, and this is part of apparently what has caused delay in hiring. Wink is still possible, according to the reporting, but there was a change. At some point, Glenn had a change of heart, and he decided he wanted to call plays, whereas before he wasn't going to. Okay, well, that calls into question why he changed his mind. But let's say he does, and he hires, Chris Harris. He elevates Chris Harris to DC, but he's going to call the plays, so he's in effect the DC. So we wind up with Malik Willis, Frank Reich calling plays in the offense, and then Aaron Glenn calling defensive plays, and then we got Chris Banjo on the special teams. Okay, That's not a bad staff. And then it's all about Malik Willis, and who knows? He's had 6 freaking games started in his career. He's looked really good in the games he started for Green Bay, but it's just so few of them that who the hell knows? And so he could be a hit. He could be a miss. If he's a hit, by the way, he's just turning 26. So if he's a hit, we're going to give him all the money. And then this thing could be salvaged. But other than that, I don't know. So that could be the plan that she's talking about. So Chetty's here. Stud City says, I'm a noob, sorry. Jimmy Jets, maybe Frank Reich knows more qualified people to come with him. Yeah, I had that thought too, Jimmy. And what if it's Chad Pennington, or what if it's one of his staff members there at Stanford or something? We could use some Stanford people over here. They're smart over there. Spin Max Dave, how many coaches are left? I don't know. Moss Girl says, silly question. If you want to be a successful OC, why not just steal plays from the great OCs? This is not a silly question. This is a great question. And in fact, that's what offensive coordinators do. But the great offensive coordinators are great in a lot of ways. It's play design, number one. Number two, it's play sequencing. When do you call the play? After what other play? What have you set up to play? In other words, if you're running the ball really good to start with, that's a good time to run some play action. If you can't run the ball at all, that's a terrible time to run a play action play, just as a simple example. But they do that all the time. But the great OCs, number one, are good play sequencers, and they have to do that in live time. And so they have to decide what play to call in live time and get it correct. So there's a time element to it. Remember, there's a 40-second shot clock, or play clock. I always call it a shot clock. And then second, can your quarterback execute, including getting the play, understanding what it is, getting to the line of scrimmage, seeing what the defense is doing, and then deciding whether to audible or not. A lot of what we give the OC credit for is actually the quarterback deciding to or not to audible out of that play that you called. You could call a great play, but it's a great play against man, and you think you're going to get man coverage, say, as a very simple example. You call it's called a man beater. I'm gonna call a man beater. Okay, they've been giving us man all game. Yeah, let's call this great man beater. Okay, great. Get to the line of scrimmage, do a little motion, and you notice nobody's moving on the defense. Nobody going with your player over there. Hey, wait a minute. We're going in and out here, and nobody on defense moving. What's happening? That means they're in zone, right? Probably. So the quarterback sees this happening. Does he audible out of it or not? It's totally on the quarterback. The offense coordinator can't do anything at that point. So, there's that. Does the quarterback do what he should do based on what he's reading? Can he even read the defense? I mean, that's a simple example what I gave you there. But there's other things. The safety's playing on this hash, and then he moves up 2 feet. What does that mean? All these type of things. Calling out the mic. Why do they always have to call out the mic? Well, it's a very important call to make. And what if you call out the mic incorrectly? So a lot of it comes down to the quarterback, really. That's why they make 55 to 60 when they're great. $1 million, that is. Because it's very, very difficult. You need physical characteristics that very, very few people on earth have. You need to be tall. You need to be able to throw a ball. You need to be athletic. You need to be able to take hits from 300-pound men all day long. All that. And you need to be whip smart and make split-second decisions and have them be correct. Over and 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 over again. That's why it's hard to be a quarterback in your NFL. So yeah, the OCs do steal from each other. And by the way, if we did get Malik Willis, one of the concerns is, but he has only been successful with Matty LaFleur. How's he going to be successful? We don't have Matt LaFleur over here. Right, but Engstrand, I was thinking, but now he's fired. But Reich or whoever would just go to Malik and say, okay, what are the plays you like, Malik? Hey, put him in the playbook. Steal it. Steal that shit. Go, first of all, people should be stealing Matt LaFleur's shit all the time anyway. because he's a great OC. Same thing with Shanahan. Same thing with McVay. You should be stealing from all these people. And but more importantly, if you have Malik Willis, you take LaFleur's plays, and then number one, and then number two, you meet with Malik and you say, okay, Malik, out of these plays, all these plays, what were the ones you loved? What was great for you? Why and why? You listen to what he says, and then you say, okay, these are going to be the base of our offense over here because he loves them. He's our quarterback now. That's what we're going to run. We're not going to run what I want to run. We're going to run what works for Malik Willis or whoever the quarterback is. And I wish more fucking coordinators would do that because it's about the players. It's not about you. It's about the players because Matthew Stafford is different than Jordan Love, is different than Tua, is different than Malik Willis, is different than, whoever, Sammy Darnold. So you have to run an offense that suits that player, whatever they are comfortable with. As long as it makes sense. I'm comfortable with running it up the middle all day, Coach. Well, okay, we need to have a chat because Willis to McCarthy. Why does that make sense? No, the thing that McCarthy and the Steelers are talking about bringing Aaron Rodgers back. You think McCarthy wants to take a chance on a guy with 6 games started? McCarthy wants familiar. That's Aaron Rodgers. That would be the best thing for the Jets, by the way. If Aaron Rodgers signed up for the Steelers again one more year, one more ride, one more ride. Well, if Aaron Rodgers did that and McCarthy and the Steelers did that, that would be great for us in a lot of ways. Number one, it takes a suitor for anybody we want to sign, whether it's Willis or, Mariota or whoever. One less of those on the field. But then also they're probably not taking Ty Simpson at 21. And as long as Ty Simpson gets out of the top 10, that means he probably lasts until round 2. Probably. We never know. The Rams could take him. Who knows? But much greater chance, let's say, that he makes it to round 2. And then if that's the case, we could do one of two things. We could trade the 33rd pick back to some team who wants him, maybe the Rams again, get him, sit him behind Stafford for a year, and then ready to go. Somebody like that. Maybe they want to come up. Maybe at that point the Steelers want to come up and grab him because they want to stash him behind Rodgers, but they don't want to use the 21st pick on him. They need to use the 21st pick on somebody, that's an impact player for them in round 1. And then we could sell that pick and move the hell back and get more talent because we need a lot more talent on this team. Or, that's option 1. Or we just take him. If we like him enough, there's a lot of risk on that ledger for Ty Simpson, but he's also very talented, so maybe we take him at 33. Maybe we don't like him as a first-round pick, but we love him as a top of the 33rd pick, fine. Because that way we get 2 first-round picks for the defense, or maybe 1 defense, 1 wide receiver, which we need. And then we get the backup quarterback. If we take him 33, he's almost certainly going to be backup. But that's okay. We stash him for a year or 2 or whatever the case is, and he's there, and we have him as an option down the road in the future. So, all that to say, McCarthy in Pittsburgh and Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh would be good for us. The Theological Titans. Yeah. The GM June. I highly doubt we can get Willis. Who would want to play for Glenn at this point? I've explained this a number of times. Well, no problem, boss girl. Yeah, look at some of these other teams, right? Look at boss girl saying, what about the Eagles? They can't hire anybody. What about the Cardinals? Steelers have a lot of draft capital this year. Dre Wireless. You got to love Dre. Just got to sit back and see what the plan is. Yeah, so we really do have to see what the plan is. But one of the things that's concerning is that uh, I'm not sure that Aaron Glenn and Woody Johnson and the whole franchise really understand what they're doing to the fan base. Fan base is pretty upset right now. And the way they've gone about this offseason has not given anybody any confidence. Uh, like I said, they could have made this very easy. Just fire Charles London, hire Wink to run the defense, or get a new quarterback coach, have and that's it. It would have been very tidy. And I think the fans would be like, all right, yeah, this makes sense. We get Wink in here, and we get a new quarterback coach. Maybe we could lure Chad Pennington somehow out of his high school coaching situation. And the fans would have been happy with that. Okay, yeah, makes sense. We had a bad defense. We're getting the blitz maestro. Okay, good. Well, very easy. Instead, we start talking to Wink, and then we start talking to other people, and then we fire a bunch of people, and then but not Engstrand, and then Engstrand's going to be here, and then he's not going to be here, and then he's gone. And now it's 3 weeks gone by, and we don't have tons of candidates for these jobs. So, what in the world, man? And that's something that that's actually what kind of worries me the most. Is like, doesn't anybody on the Jets realize doing it this way? It looks like hot garbage. Now, they're ultimately going to be judged by the results they get, and if we have a nice year next year, nobody's going to care about this. But as of right now, and you do have to worry about the fans buying tickets and all of that, the business side of this. And right now, it looks like we have no idea what the hell we're doing. And that's not good for a team that's had a lot of dysfunction. To what extent it's true or not, the media makes it seem worse than it is, probably. But still, that perception's out there, and you have to know that. And then to go about this offseason like this, when you could have sewn this up very easily just by doing DC interviews, hire Wink. Seems like the guy who wanted to come here the most. Leonard has other opportunities, it seems like. He might be going to Buffalo. And that's it. And just fire Charles London, get a new quarterback coach in here, and everybody would have said, okay, good, fine. Let's get on with the offseason. Good little minor correction Glenn made, okay. And it wouldn't have been a big thing. Now there's all this media stuff about, this is unprecedented to get rid of your OC and DC and all these people. And then to do it in this fashion where it wasn't all clean break right after the season, where you could interview all these people that were available. Some of these people got jobs. So that's the thing that worries me. No one seems to understand the PR implications of what they're doing. No one understands the media. Where is Eric Gelfand in all this? I keep bringing up Eric Gelfand's name. No one ever criticizes him. But I think if you're the PR guy for the Jets, your job should be a little deeper than what he does. You need to be, and maybe he does this, we don't know, we would never see it. Maybe he does do all this and everybody ignores him, I don't know. But you need to be telling these decision makers, if you go about things this way, this is what the media is going to do, and therefore this is what the public's going to think, and that public is the people you're trying to sell tickets and merchandise to. Right now, we look pretty ridiculous. Now, again, if we get Reich and Wink or Reich and Glenn calling plays, okay, that has a chance to work if we can get a quarterback somehow, some way, convince Malik to come here or whoever we get. We do have to get somebody to play quarterback. And if by some chance they turn out to be good, I don't know, friggin' Ty Simpson, whatever, Marcus Mariota, I don't know. That's ultimately what they're going to be judged on. And every team, you need a quarterback. So it also seems like this is a lot of stuff that the Jets have done when in reality they needed to get a lot more better players on defense, which I told you in the summertime. We went over the roster. I've said this a million times. That was the problem on defense. We just didn't have enough good players, and then we traded Sauce and Quinnen on top of it. So how do you think they're going to play? But okay, find a new coordinator, but really you needed to stockpile the roster with good players, draft and free agency. 1. And 2, you needed a quarterback. You needed a threat balance on offense because the running game was okay, but then when teams saw all we could do was run the ball, and you can, you don't have to uh, worry about the quarterback beating you that much, it became very difficult to run an offense. You need threat balance in any offense. So you could have just said, "All right, look, we need a quarterback. Obviously, that's got to be job one. That's any team. So let's fire the quarterback coach. Let's bring Chad Pennington in here. Let's bring somebody in here that makes sense. All right." And then since we decided to let Wilkes go, all right, well, let's bring Wink or whoever we can get, or Glenn calls the plays, whatever it is. It could have been done 1 week, 10 days after the season, and we're done with it. And then we're moving on to evaluation time and getting our eyes on these prospects and everything else. That has to be done in the offseason. But instead, here we are. It's January 27th, and we still don't have a DC. We still don't have an OC. We don't know what the hell's going on. Glenn might call plays. He might not call plays. We're firing Engstrand on January 27th, and it just looks completely discombobulated and like we're completely dysfunctional, which for a team that is perceived to be dysfunctional is not the way you would like to operate. That's the thing that kills me, because now what you did is you just made everything worse. Could have been so easy and done with it, and now you've just made the dysfunction worse. So now you're going to have to convince these player agents to come get their client here, and now you just made the case harder. Muji's going to have to convince, whether it's Malik Willis, Marcus Mariota, whatever free agent it is. Money is one thing, and most guys, if you make them the best offer, they'll come. But you do have to convince them, and now you just made that a little bit harder, because they're going to say, well, you guys seem a little dysfunctional. What's going on? It doesn't seem like a very well-run organization. So it's, but I mean, and then, you got Rossini saying there's a plan 3 hours ago. We'd like to know what the plan is. Rossini. As of 16 minutes ago, Dirty Diana Rossini said this: the Las Vegas Raiders are still planning on another interview with a candidate this week. They have yet to make a decision at head coach. That's the other thing. A lot of still 3 head coaching positions open. And those people then have to get an OC and a DC and all that. So whatever this plan is that Rossini's talking about, unless, again, she could be, making fun of us, I guess. But I've yet to know what it is. Unhinged anger. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, but I mean, he made it worse. That's the thing. He could have done this very logically and simply and been done with it, and everybody would have said, all right, he made some tweaks. Yeah, makes sense. But instead, he's done all this, and now he just made it worse. Well, I would think he puts a lot into it, Phil. What do you think Jaime's there for? You ever see Jaime getting any criticism or fire Jaime? That's Jaime. Hello? Jaime El High. So, a lot? I mean, they do have to sell tickets. They do have to justify. They do have to bring in money. When you have multiple businesses, even if you're a billionaire, you don't want to use the money from one business and put it into the other business. The business should run functionally itself. In other words, the product should bring in enough money to cover all the expenses that you have, including paying out. And now Woody's got to pay all these coaches. He's got to pay Alonso Escalante, and he's got to pay Tanner Engstrand and Steve Wilkes and all these people. He's got to pay them to not be here because those contracts are fully guaranteed. So he cares a lot, I would think. I mean, no person runs a business and is like, I don't care about cash flow. Cash flow cares about that. It's like, that's why you run a business. Free cash flow. We don't need that. We're running a charity here. Free cash flow. What's that? EBITDA. Get out of here with this terminology. What am I, an accountant? Get out of here with your EBITDA. Get out of here. I don't want to hear about no spreadsheets. I don't want to hear about no balance sheets. Get out of here. All I want to do is lose games. Well, apparently he hates losing. Some of the reporting is that Woody was very upset with how we lost the last 5 weeks when we kept getting blown out. Of course, we had no players playing, but not sure how we were supposed to be competitive when we're running a bunch of P-squatters and street players out there, but another story. But apparently he's mad. He gets mad when he doesn't like losing. Problem is the way he handles what to do about the losing is not great. Now, the other reporting that came out is that as opposed to the last two head coaches, Aaron Glenn is Woody's guy. So if you remember, the last two head coaches, Gase and Saleh, those were really Christopher hires, if you remember, because Woody was over in London playing Mr. Ambassador. So this is the first one where he was fully involved. And he says, and the reporting is that Aaron Glenn is quote unquote Woody's guy. So that being the case, maybe he has a longer leash. But at the same time, how much of a longer leash is he going to have? And when you're acting like this, where it seems like you're just smashing buttons, trying to figure something out, it doesn't look like there's a cohesive plan whatsoever. Even Woody's got to pick up like, Aaron, what are we doing? Now, maybe there is some logical reason as to why we've behaved this way over the last 3 weeks. Why there was a change of heart, apparently, from Glenn in terms of calling plays. Because, of course, if you go to Wink Martindale and you say, Wink, this happened on Saturday when he came in person, and everybody thought, all right, he's getting hired, including apparently himself. Martindale thought that too. But apparently when he came for that, that's when Glenn started talking about, well, I'm thinking about calling plays myself, Mr. Wink. And Wink was like, well, what do you think Wink Martindale's response to that is? He's a veteran coach, been around a long time, has had a lot of success with Baltimore, less with the Giants, but still improved that defense when he got there, and then has been at a big time school like Michigan. When he comes in for his interview and he thinks he's going to get hired that day, and actually Glenn starts talking about, well, actually, Wink, I'm thinking about calling the plays myself. What do you think? Would you take the job if you didn't call plays? What do you think Wink Martindale's going to say? I think we're lucky he didn't say, fuck you. I'm retiring. Take me off the list. Because, in fact, it's been reported that he's not completely out of the running, but apparently, he kind of wants to call plays. He's not a neophyte. So, and probably the only thing keeping him kind of interested is this is his way back into the NFL. Doesn't seem to be a lot of interest in old Wink, I think because of ageism, but, and so, like what caused that? That's the thing that would be concerning to me. If you were going to do that, then why didn't you make that decision, sometime during the season? I mean, the reporters even asked him about it. So you can't say, I don't know, I was thinking about too many other things. The reporters asked him about it, I think multiple times. Like, would you ever consider, considering how bad the defense has played, would you ever consider taking play calling on yourself? So they asked him about it. So he had to think about it at some point. I mean, you get asked a question a couple of times when you're in your office by yourself late at night. You'd think, well, maybe should I? So if whatever he ultimately decided, why was there a change in the middle? That's the thing I don't get. Whichever way he decided at the end of the year, which is I'm not going to or I'm going to, whichever way it was, what would cause him to change his mind in the middle of all this? That's the part I don't get. Whichever way you decide, okay, fine. Hire Wink, he calls the plays. Hire Ephraim Banda, and you call the plays because Banda's not ready, or Chris Harris is not ready, or Rojo not ready, whoever it is. Okay, so they get a title, they get a pay bump, and they're happy. But you're calling the plays, and you're going to kind of uh, bring them along and eventually hand it off or something. All right, that's fine. Either way is fine, but the idea that you're changing your mind halfway through makes it seem like you don't know what the fuck you're doing. That's the problem. You make a decision, there should be reasons for that decision, and that's it. This going back and forth, especially after you're down the road with Wink Martindale, of all people, a very established, obviously, 62 years old, whatever he has a long, long, long career behind him of doing this. It's not a neophyte in any sense of the word. Just kind of makes it seem like there's something amiss. But at this point in time, we don't know what it is. Now, one of the big news items that's come across in the last hour or so, Bill Belichick is not getting into the Hall of Fame just yet. So the voters for the Hall of Fame, this is the first time Belichick was up for vote. So first, he would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, as they say. And they left him out. He didn't get enough votes. Belichick not in the Hall, at least so far. And the idea is, well, he'll get in next year. But they didn't want to make him a first ballot Hall of Famer because of the cheating scandals. And a lot of people are upset, saying this is ridiculous. The man has 8 rings. Yeah, but what about the cheating? But here's the thing. Okay, about the cheating. Well, he got caught cheating. They docked him money. They docked him draft picks. Okay, we all remember. But so that can keep him out as a first ballot Hall of Famer, but a second ballot Hall of Famer, he's totally okay. So he can get into the Hall of Fame, just not right now. So were these cheatings egregious or a really bad thing or not? Well, they were bad, but only bad to keep him from being a first ballot Hall of Famer. But second ballot, it's okay. He's in now. What? So was it bad that he did these things? Well, yeah, it's kind of bad, but not that bad. Oh, so cheating's okay. It's just not super okay. Oh, that's what we're saying? Okay, yeah, sounds good. The rail to cruising. Plans are overrated. It's like Dutch Vanderlyn said, I have a plan. And the plan was to get money and then get a boat and then go to Tahiti. How did that work out for the boys in the Dutch Vanderlyn gang? Tell me that much. Well, they never got to Tahiti. Green Fiend NYJ. It's crazy that it happens at this point. Right. Why didn't they have this convo with him when they were making the move, letting Wilkes go? Exactly. Or right after the season. They let Wilkes go before the season ended. I'm not surprised they didn't do it then, but as soon as the season ended, what was the analysis? I mean, it does need to be some days of consideration, talking to people, talking to Tanner, talking to, looking at film. There does need to be some time to go by, but that time should be a few days, not 3 fucking weeks. That's the problem. And not to mention, you let a bunch of people go, and then Tanner was going to be here, and the rest of the offensive staff thought they were good to go, safe. And then now Tanner's gone, so the new guy might bring in his own people, so all those people could be fired. It's a mess. It's sloppy. This mess is not a creation of the media. It's a creation of Woody and Glenn. Yeah, this particular one is, yeah. But the media doesn't help. I mean, when the media writes that disingenuous article of, 30 disgruntled sources, that creates an image of the Jets. But of course, the Jets, with what they do, of course, they play the main role. Hit the like button. Yeah, please do hit the like button. It really does help. I would appreciate it. FSPN is an independent news channel. I don't know if we're a news channel, but we're an independent channel where we analyze the news, I'll tell you that much. And we bring you unique insights, I believe, things you don't get anywhere else. And if you don't support the things you love, they go away in the market. And so the least you could do, really, is hit a thumbs up. The next big thing you could do is subscribe to the channel. So if you're new around here, I would consider subscribing. That's free. And then you can get notifications every time a new video comes out, etc. And if you really want to support us, you can join the Inner Circle. That's the join button down below. $2 a month gets you exclusive breakdowns, items, college quarterback grading, draft guides. So, for example, by the way, if you're in the chat right now and you are a member, don't buy any draft guides this year. Save your money because old Frankie will buy them for you and then provide them in the files. So that way you get the PFF draft guide, you get Brugler's draft guide. I might get one or two other draft guides. You get them for free just for supporting FSPN, which you should be doing anyway, because we need to support the alternative media, the good alternative media, not the ones who just want to be big media junior, like some of these people. Kevin Stefanski had his introduction today, so I think the Falcons did pretty well. They got Stefanski. But actually, the team that did the best was the Chargers. They got McDaniel to be the OC. That's perfect for him. McDaniel and Justin Herbert, perfect together. I predict Chargers to the Super Bowl next year. And I think the Falcons, they have to figure out what to do at quarterback. But I think Stefanski, Matt Ryan, they're going to be in good shape. They at least have a chance to be in good shape because he's the head coach play caller. Although, actually, I think Tommy Reese is going to call plays for him, which I don't understand. That news came out today. If I were Stefanski, I would call the plays. But he's letting Tommy Reese, and he has a pretty good track record. But anyway, if Reese fails or if Reese leaves for a job, then Stefanski can take over. So that's why they have a shot. Whereas with these defensive coaches, I mean, look what Dan Quinn did. I mean, Dan Quinn did essentially what Glenn did. He fired everybody. But he did it in a timely manner and in a way that made sense, whereas Glenn just seemed like he's dicking around. But these defensive coaches, this is what can happen. It seems like the offensive coaches has their shit together more. Looks like the plan is no plan. Well, that's not a plan. Hold the rope. Yeah, let's keep holding the rope. Woody's MO is to be hands-on for quite a while and then get too handsy all at once, right? Like what happens is he panics. Like he's hands-off. Right now we got a large cash budget. That's good. We should be able to find some good free agents. And then but then when it starts to go south, he like panics. And then overcorrects and fires Saleh 5 games in. That was dumb. It wasn't dumb to fire Saleh, but 5 games in was pretty stupid. And then he's getting mad at Aaron Rodgers, and he's getting mad at, and we don't know if he was kidding and this and that, but nonetheless, he overcorrects. It just seems like when things start to go down, he doesn't know how to fix it. RC says, I can't understand how Leonard is the leading candidate for the Bill job when Brady was just elevated to OC. Well, why not? Well, no, Brady was elevated to HC. So Joe Brady's your new head coach of the Bills, buddy. That's how it makes sense. And then Leonard is not a DC right now. In fact, Leonard has never called a play in the NFL in his life, but everybody loves him for some reason. So Joe Brady is the head coach of your Buffalo Bills, which also I don't think that's great. But then if they get Leonard, he's an up-and-comer. A lot of people like him, even though he's never called a play in the NFL in his life. And that's what's going on there. So I don't think they did the best. Joe Brady has basically had success in 2019 with LSU with the greatest college football team of all time. Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Patrick Queen, to name a few, were on that team, probably the greatest team to ever play football. He had success with them. Oh, what a surprise. I could have been the OC, and he wasn't even the OC. Then he goes to Carolina, doesn't have that great a talent, gets fired before the year's out, ends up somehow as the quarterback coach of Buffalo, then Ken Dorsey flips out. If you remember that, he's throwing everything all around. He's had too much cocaine or something, and he's throwing his playbook all around. He's throwing it, flipping out. And they were like, "Listen, dude, you stop. What is this?" They fire his ass. They elevate Brady, and he runs the Josh Allen run around and do stuff offense, which is what they are, and hand the ball off to James Cook, of course. But so basically, he's been associated with the greatest team of all time in college. He went to the Carolina Panthers with Matt Rule, fired before a year's out, I think. But maybe he made a year plus, I don't know. Very soon, fired, and then winds up with the Bills and gets elevated because Ken Dorsey flipped out on camera, and they didn't like that. And now he's the head coach, even though all he has is Josh Allen run around and do stuff offense. I don't see how that's a big upgrade from McDermott when the problem has been defense. Now, if he gets Jim Leonard, maybe Leonard can fix the defense. I don't know. But it seems to me the problem was the general manager picking the wrong people in the draft to fix all these problems. He's the one who picked Keon Coleman. He's the one who picked Khair Elam in the first round. These are all first rounders. He's the one who picked all these people on defense this year who apparently didn't play too good. He was trying to load up the defense. He was getting guys. And when it was happening, I was like, wow, they're really loading up the defense. Signing Joey Bosa and all this. But they weren't good enough. And wide receiver's been a problem. I mean, they had Elijah Moore, and they didn't even keep him. I'd like somebody to explain the career of Elijah Moore to me, because there's a guy I can't understand why he's not good. I just can't understand it. But many, not just the Jets, many, I mean, the Buffalo Bills desperately need wide receivers, and he was there, and then they let him go. I don't get it. So, but it seems to me that the Buffalo Bills did the exact wrong thing. They should have fired the GM, gotten someone who knows how to pick players a little better, and leave McDermott alone, and leave Brady alone, and this is what they did. So I don't think they made out well. I think the Chargers made out well. I think the Falcons did pretty well. And I think McCarthy, well, I think McCarthy's fascinating for a lot of reasons. Pittsburgh guy. And I'm very familiar with Pittsburgh, as you know. Pittsburgh guy, going back to Pittsburgh. So we'll see how that works out. He's a lot better. He has the exact same resume as Harbaugh, John Harbaugh. But everybody loves Harbaugh and hates McCarthy. They have the exact same resume. It's exactly the same. And everybody's with the Giants is overjoyed about Harbaugh, and everybody with the Steelers hates McCarthy. It's weird. But so we'll see what he does at the quarterback position. That's going to basically be what it comes down to over there. Maybe they go with Will Howard. We never know. Murph. Hearing a lot of info, you're saying way before these fakers get their hands on it. Well, probably these fakers listen to old Frankie and then steal it. That's how it works, Murph. That's another reason why people should join the inner circle. I'm the one who comes up with a lot of this original stuff. Tiki Barber floated the idea. A Tiki Barber, RC? You mean the idea I had 3 fucking weeks ago? How about that, RC? Go back and look at my videos. Tiki Barber floated the idea, you're saying, RC? Go take a look. I mean, come on, bro. Give me some fucking credit. God damn. I do a whole fucking video. And then what about Chad Pennington? Have you ever heard of this name? What about Frankie, did you hear we were interested in Wink Martindale? Did you hear that? Oh. Frankie, did you know that we might switch over to a 3-4? Frankie, have you ever thought about that? I wonder. Boomer Esiason said we might switch over to a 3-4. Did you know? Come on, people. Jesus Christ, man. Well, here's Johnny. He's part of the inner circle as well. Old Johnny M. Well, thank you for that, Johnny. Not everybody appreciates what I do. They come to me with the things that I said 4 fucking weeks ago, and they say, "Did you hear this guy saying about it?" Boss girl. Bills GM should have been fired. Yeah. Well, we're on the same page, boss girl, on a lot of these issues, which is scary. He is relying too heavily on Josh Allen. Yeah, this is right. They are competitive. Yeah, the whole thing, the whole team, as I've said, they should change the name of the team to the Buffalo Josh Allens. That's really what they should do. Because if it wasn't for that motherfucker, and by the way, Brian Dable had nothing to do with the improvement of Josh Allen. He went to a specific mechanics camp. This has been documented very, very well. And that in between year 2 and year 3, and that fixed his mechanics, and then he started throwing accurately, and with all the other tools that he has, that's what made him into what he is now. So it had nothing to do with Brian Dable, it had nothing to do with the Bills or anybody except Josh fucking Allen. He took it on his own self to go in the offseason and pay for it and fix himself, basically. And so the credit goes to Josh Allen, and they can't get a wide receiver. Keon Coleman, their first round pick. I mean, people were getting on the Jets. The Jet fans were upset when Arian Smith was inactive on our team. He was a 4th round pick. They were making Keon Coleman their first round pick inactive in several games this season. Can you imagine the media for the Jets if we had a first round wide receiver that was inactive because of, not because of injury? I mean, we'd never hear the end of it. But the Bills do it. Oh, that's fine. But why? Because they're winning, one. And because Josh Allen, well, whatever. As long as they win. Well, it comes down to the playoffs, and they don't seem to be able to win because that's when you need a team. Yeah, it helps to have a great quarterback in the playoffs, sure. But then you also need the other things, defense, special teams. I mean, some of these teams are so bad. Look at the Rams on special teams, for example. You know, I bet you they would love to hire our special teams coach, Banjo. They would love to hire old Banjo. We better not let him. We better give him a raise. He earned it. But yeah, I mean, the Bills did the wrong things. Now, it may work out for them. Maybe Joe Brady will be an amazing hire, and they'll get Leonard or something, and he'll straighten out the D, and they'll start picking great defensive players in the draft or what have you. But on paper right now, if I were a Bills fan, I would not be excited about Joe fucking Brady. First of all, he was already here. Like, how much is he going to improve the team? Is he going to improve the offense that he was just running? That's not an improvement. The only thing you could even hope for is that, all right, Leonard or whoever they wind up getting just kills it as a DC. But as of right now, it's unknown. And even if you get Jim Leonard, who's is very well regarded, you don't know how he's going to do as a DC. He's never done it in the NFL. So, and ultimately, it does come down to the players. I don't think Sean McDermott was some bad coach. He just they didn't get enough good players for their. I mean, they had enough good players to have good records in the regular season and all that, but in the playoffs, that was their problem, and the players that they had weren't good enough for that level. They would have been. I mean, we would love to have the Jets would love to have their roster, of course. So it wasn't that he couldn't get a good roster going. It was that he couldn't get like a Super Bowl level roster going. They've had some heartbreaking losses too. Yeah, this is how it is, Murph. If I do a video, it's funny because I'll do a video and it'll get 300, 500 views, which in the YouTube world is nothing, right? 500 views. What is this guy, a piker? Get this guy out of here. But the people who watch it are the people who will then use that information that I give them, claim it's their own, and they'll make a video that says exactly what I say. They'll just, I don't know if they copy down they write down everything I say, and then they make a video, and then their video gets 5,000, 10,000 views. It's the same video I did. But they somehow get 10,000 views on it. It's the life of Frankie. It's not fun, guys. It's not fun. Ishk. Ishk. So Glenn gets a pass. So who gave Glenn a pass? Not me. I hope you're not talking to me. Ishk. And I said, so maybe you missed the beginning, but I said I would not have fired Tanner Engstrand. So I don't know if you're talking to me, Ishk, or somebody in the chat. Let me know. But if you're talking to me, you mischaracterize me, which happens a lot. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But what I said was Tanner Engstrand should not have been fired because he didn't have a quarterback. What you're saying, because he didn't have a quarterback. We should not have fired him, in my opinion. And I did not give Aaron Glenn a pass for anything. So hopefully you're not talking to me, Ish. Keep it simple, RC. Hughes was saying Shanahan helped. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's bullshit. I mean, Connor Hughes will say some of the dumbest shit ever. The fact of the matter is that Sam Darnold, I put this out on X, people really should follow me. Sam Darnold is pretty much the same guy he's been since college. The difference in terms of interceptions, Sam Darnold's big problem his whole career has been interceptions. If you look at his interceptions per game, it went up with the Jets, but otherwise has been pretty consistently bad. The difference is with the Vikings and the Seahawks this year, he threw more touchdowns and the team won more because they had better defenses, they had better overall roster. But his interception problem has been exactly the same, almost exactly the same his whole career. Little blips up and down, but it's pretty consistent actually, which is kind of funny. So the problem was really just him maturing a little bit, getting older and getting, running offense a little more efficiently. And then just having a better team around him. Really. That was the thing the Jets really did wrong with him. We just had a shitty team around him, and it was hard to evaluate him. Because, yeah, he was playing poorly, but we didn't have any talent around him. What do you expect? And we didn't have a great play caller either. So, yeah, Shanahan gets no credit for that. I just think, if you're going to give credit to a coach, it would be O'Connell, of course. But even that's a stretch, in my opinion. I just think when you're throwing to Justin Jefferson, it makes your life a lot easier, plus all the other weapons they have there. And same thing this year. It helps to have JSN on your team when you can, he can make you look real good. That dude is amazing, by the way, JSN. And, we could have drafted JSN. We could have had Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba on this team. But no, we had to take Spinny McWhinney. Oh, yeah. And that dude is amazing, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Holy smokes, is he good. Nerf. AG is keeping Jefferson? Looks like it. I mean, we don't know. Maybe tomorrow everybody else gets fired. We don't know. But as of right now, he's staying, yeah. RC, is it possible there was some tension between Reich and Engstrand? Anything's possible. I would think it's more like Engstrand was like, wait a minute. You're going to hire this guy. He's going to call the plays. What am I going to do? He probably thought, well, I could go be an OC somewhere else where I call the plays and develop my career instead of, being shoved in the garbage can and I'm sticking around and this guy's calling the plays. I mean, what's the point of that? So you never know, but I doubt there was tension between those two. I just think Engstrand didn't like the role that was being proposed by Glenn. All right, you stay here and you help design the plays and stuff, but Reich is going to be calling the plays. I think Engstrand was like, this is not the career path that I'm looking for because that's a step backward. If you think about it, these guys have careers, And so if you're already calling plays, you don't want to take a step back unless you absolutely have to. And I think he had a good case to make, which was, I had no quarterback. What did you expect me to do with Justin fucking Fields, Tyrod, Mr. Injury Taylor, and goddamn Brady Cook? I can't do anything with these people, and neither could anybody else. Which I would have been personally sympathetic to. But Aaron Glenn apparently was not, and I'm pretty sure that's what Engstrand was saying. I mean, what else would you say if you're Engstrand and you have your boss coming in to evaluate you? I mean, if I was Engstrand, I'd be showing him the tape and seeing this guy's open, look at this guy, look at this, and Justin's not throwing the ball, and Brady's not throwing the ball, and and just show him play after play after play, and then say, really, you want to put this on me when we couldn't have a threat balanced offense? and all the teams were not scared of our quarterback and therefore could just attack the running game? I mean, come on. What are we talking about? And I would have been sympathetic to that argument. That's what I've been saying. Keep Engstrand. He's Ben Johnson's first protege. That's the other thing I would have said. You like what Ben Johnson's doing? I'm his first fucking protege. Hello? You want to talk about trees and all this? How about Ben Johnson? Like what he's doing with the Bears? Like what he did with Caleb Iceman Williams? Well, I'm his first protege. So between those two arguments, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I would have been like, you're right. Okay, you're staying. Good job. Now let's fix the fucking defense and let's get a quarterback and let's move on. But there's a plan. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Well, as of 1 hour ago, got retweeted, Lewis Moore, safety out of Indiana, is excited to announce that he will be declaring for the NFL draft. So if you missed it, some of the Indiana Hoosiers that won the national championship, of course, are starting to declare. Elijah Surratt declared. Omar Cooper declared. I like Cooper a lot. A lot. And now safety Lou Moore, the ball-hawking safety, Lewis Moore, he will be coming into the NFL. All three of those players are players the Jets could really use. So somebody reposted that. Well, whatever plan this is, that dirty Diana Rossini. All right, here's interesting news. The Denver Broncos have fired 3 assistant coaches. This could have some implication on what we're doing. So the Broncos fired offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi, wide receivers coach Kiri Colbert, and cornerbacks coach Addison Lynch. That one, who knows? But don't forget, Amuji came from Denver, and AG has relationship with Sean Payton. So a guy like Joe Lombardi could come back here, maybe. Wide receiver coach Kiri Colbert, I don't know much about him. But the Broncos go all the way to the championship game and play in a snowstorm with their backup quarterback, and they fired 3 coaches. So I think this is rather strange. I don't know what the backstory to this is, but anyway, there's some more coaches that are now on the market, if we're, that we could potentially add to our staff. But that's a little strange that Peyton would fire these people after they go all the way to the AFC Championship game. They have to play in a blizzard, second half blizzard, and with their backup quarterback. And probably the reason they lost that game was because Peyton didn't kick the field goal when he should have. What did the wide receiver coach have to do with that, Mr. Payton? But nonetheless, they fired those people. So that's breaking news as of 1 minute ago. I'm pretty sure they'll land on somebody's staff. They could say, did you see what we did with the Broncos? So that's going on. But as far as the plan for the Jets, I understand that I'm, what do you want to say? Grasping for straws, trying to find something positive in this. And in case you missed it in the beginning of the program here on FSPN, the Frankie from Flatbush show live, and thank you for joining me live. We appreciate this emergency live stream based on the fact that the breaking news of a few hours ago, actually 5 hours ago, was that the Jets have fired former offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand, first protege of Ben Johnson. Gone. Goodbye. But Diana Rossini then quickly said, quote, "The Jets have a plan. ... Stay tuned." As if to say, don't worry, Jet fans. Something's going to happen that's going to be good. We have a plan. So she said the Jets have a plan. That's pretty definitive also. These reporters do have to be careful with their words, and they do like to couch things in case they actually do get called out, which rarely happens. But we do it on this program. One of the many reasons you should support FSPN, because I call out these flunkies when they are doing journalistic malpractice. And who else has the balls to do it? Let's be honest. You think Jake Assman's going to do it? No. You think the Badlands people are going to do it? They have Zach fucking Rosenblather on their payroll. They're not going to do it. Very few people are going to do it. But, when you need a job done, and you need the job done right, you go to the 82nd Airborne Division. You get it done. So I understand I'm grasping for straws here. And by the way, I don't know where that phrase comes from. Who needs straws so much that they have to grasp for them desperately? But nonetheless, that's what she said. The Jets have a plan. ... Stay tuned. So we don't know what the plan is. Now, another interesting bookmark that I have here, since we had nothing else to really talk about. Somebody put out a rumor, and this is somebody from Pittsburgh. Rumor: Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula. I think I called him Mike Shula in a tweet during the games. But anyway, and that's another reason you should follow me on X. I tweet out during the games funny things. Very witty I am, if I do say so myself. But anyway, it says, Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula reportedly, quote unquote, embarrassingly bombed his head coaching interview with the Steelers. Now, he doesn't say where he's getting that from, but I thought it was interesting that somebody's putting out that Chris Shula embarrassingly bombed his head coaching interview with the Steelers. What could that even mean? Did he show up drunk? I don't know, but it's an interesting little tidbit. Some people show up and bomb their interviews. Yeah, nothing new from the Jet Beat reporters. Jets have to do the Rooney Rule? Yes, they do, but they might have already done that. People confuse the job of the coordinator with the responsibilities of the HC. So they cite Saleh's defense as something he did well as HC, but we could have just hired him as DC to do that job. Job of HC different. 100% agree. Top Cat Warless is here. Good to see you, buddy. I haven't seen you in a while. Where you been? Where you been hiding, Top Cat? Hard to judge Angstrom with what he had to work with. Wish him well. Now get FR in here. Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, the decision's been made. I disagree with the decision. I do not think we should have fired Ben Johnson's first protege. I do not. And by the way, people like Matt Harmon, if you know who Matt Harmon is, all he does is watch wide receiver routes. He's probably the world's most foremost expert on wide receiver play because he runs his whole business. It's called Reception Perception. He has an entire business. His whole life, his whole livelihood is dependent on telling you who's a good wide receiver and who stinks based on watching them. And he has, of course, a whole system for grading and everything. He knows more about wide receivers than probably anybody because he watches them all, the prospects, the people in the NFL, the year one, year two. His whole business is wide receiver analysis. So you know who to draft in fantasy, who you want your team to draft, etc. His whole business is watching wide receiver routes and how good these wide receivers are at doing the things that they do. Well, Matt Harmon said something to the effect of, well, I've watched a lot of the Jets offense, and one thing I've been impressed with is Tanner Engstrom's ability to call plays. So when you have and then you say, what about the running game? The running game, there's only so much you can do. Outside run, inside run, duo. There's only so many runs. Run left, run right. You can't run upward. So that kind of thing makes me upset because if Matt Harmon is saying that, the man who's watched more wide receiver routes and route combinations and offensive schemes than just about anybody in the world, then I just don't get it. And then on top of that, all the other stuff that we know about Engstrand that we could see ourselves in the all-22 footage and everything else. So I don't like it at all. But it's been done. So, yeah, now we need to get Reich in here because who the hell else are we going to get? And if we did this with the understanding that if we did this, then Reich would come, okay, I guess. I don't really... to me, if anything, it's just a lateral move. I don't see but maybe Reich is better than Engstrand. I don't know, but it's going to come down to quarterback play. If you gave Frank Reich, put it this way, if you hired Frank Reich last year instead of Engstrand as the OC, and you gave him fucking Justin Fields and injury Tyrod and Brady Cook, what the hell would he have done? The hell would Frank Reich have done with that trio of bums? And I like Tyrod a lot, but he gets injured a lot. That's his problem, mostly. But, would he have done that much better? It's hard to believe. I mean, again, the OC can only do so much. At some point, the quarterback has to throw the fucking ball. Like, the guy's open, fucking hit him. We saw it so many times, and Brady Cook was even worse, but at least Brady Cook was an undrafted free agent. You could understand he was in over his head, but Justin Fields is a first-round pick and a fifth or sixth-year veteran. We were hoping he could figure it out, but he didn't. So, yeah, I agree with this. I couldn't believe he didn't kick that field goal. This is an offensive genius, Sean Payton's supposed to be. Honestly, it sounds like the Jets have concepts of a plan. Yeah, we got aspects of concepts of planning particulars. As for positive, aside from all the draft capital this year and next, along with this year's cap space, we are projected to have the most cap space in 27. Well, that is very positive. Warless, we have a while before training camp, so hopefully we can get our ducks in a row. let's hope so, Warless. Training camp, we got to go now. How are we going to scout people? How are we going to do our evaluations? You got to have your staff in place. The fucking Senior Bowl's going on right now. I'm sure we have our scouts there, but usually we got coaches there. Anybody want to go to the Senior Bowl? I mean, it's going on right now. How are we going to evaluate wide receiver Ted Hurst from Georgia State that nobody's ever fucking heard of, but seems to be a sleeper prospect? Look at him go. He's doing one-on-one drills. Look at this release. That doesn't look too great, actually. But he made a one-handed catch. So, is he any good? We got to figure this out. So we got a whole off season, Warless. We got off season stuff to do. We need the coaches in here so we know what the hell we're doing, especially on defense. Who's calling the plays? Are we running a 3-4 or 4-3? What are we doing? If you run a 3-4, you need a different roster than a 4-3. We got to get these people in here. I don't understand the lack of urgency and the changing of the minds. I don't want to keep going over it, but why do we have to change our minds all the time? Kingsbury's not coming here. He, where did he end up? Did he end up somewhere? He's not coming here. Forget Kingsbury. Murph, member of the Inner Circle. Ciruca. Somebody broke into my car last night and left. Take it. Yeah, this is the problem. When you look this dysfunctional, the fan base is already on fire with toxicity. It's like a toxic dumpster fire of a fan base right now. And this last 3 weeks has not done anything to help the matter. When you could have very easily just fired Charles London, that's it, and then replaced Wilkes with Wink, and then just find a new quarterback coach, preferably Chad Pennington if you can get him. And that's it. You're done. And then got everybody in place. All right, let's go. Let's start scouting. Let's start evaluating. Let's start figuring out who needs contract extensions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But instead, we're still dicking around. We don't have a DC now. We don't got an OC. All the rest of the coaches are sitting around biting their fingernails, figuring out if they got to move. I mean, Christ's sake, man. Yeah, well, starts, we got to get people in here, and then we got to start figuring out what players we need in here. You can't install anything right now, but what you can be doing is evaluating talent on your own team. Who needs to be resigned? Who needs to go? Who do we need to bring in here? Who's our priority free agents? Everyone punching down on the Jets just for trying to fix this mess. Yeah, but it's hard to blame them when you do it this way. Like I said, it could have been very neat and tidy and done very quickly at the end of the season. And instead, they did this. Glenn's not going to, refuses to call plays. Now he's thinking about calling plays and he's going to change his mind. And then Tanner Engstrom's safe, and then he's not safe. Then he's kind of safe. Now he's not safe at all. Oh, now he's fired. Very, very poor process. Whatever process they're using, it's not going down very well. Not to mention, now that you fire all these people, those are people that are going to become sources to the media. And how do you think they're going to make you look when you fired them? You think Alonzo Escalante was really a big problem? He had to leave. Dre Bly was a really big problem coach-wise. Now, maybe he was. Maybe these people were drinking on the job. I don't know. Who knows what they were doing? Maybe they were really, really terrible. I don't know. But, I mean, now all these people are going to leak to the media that you stink and the Jets are awful and terrible and what a nightmare to work there. Oh, my goodness, Glenn doesn't know what he's doing. And, all this is going to leak to the media now because you fired these people. Nobody thinks of these things. Break down the stages. Murph, come on, man. How many cycles have you been through, Murph? How old are you, Murph? Come on, Murph. 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 Now, if you're 13 or 14 or something, you're new to football, or maybe you're not from America or something, all right. But haven't you been around this cycle long enough as a Jet fan? I mean, as Jet fans, we're supposed to win the offseason. That's the other thing. Oh, you're 15? Jeez, man. All right, Murph. I'll give you a break. You're 15. But still, I mean, when you have Connor Long out there and he's 10 years old and he's producing content, But anyway, no, we got, first of all, we have the Combine. So the Combine is in about a month. Now we got the Senior Bowl. They say the draft starts in Mobile. Why do they say that? Mobile, Alabama is where they have the Senior Bowl. That's going on right now. Right now. They're having practices. So that's where you start looking at these prospects. I'm sure we have some of our scouts down there. But, I mean, they look at the prospects all year long. But now there's these All-Star games. It's All-Star game season. Then it's going to be pro days. All the universities will have their pro days where their people who are eligible for the draft will do workouts for the scouts. Then comes the Combine. That's the Underwear Olympics, the end of February. And that's where you get official measurements, medical done, and they do all their little things that they do. They lift, they jump, they run, all that. That's the Combine. Once that's over, then March comes, and then it's the new league year. Once the new league year happens, then all the teams have to be under the cap by then. So there's a bunch of teams that are over the cap, including the Dolphins, by the way, who are right now over the cap. They got to be under that cap by the new league year. So they're going to have to make some transactions between now and then. Then free agency starts around March 10th. Once that happens, that's big for us. We got to start seeing some real people come over to us. Like Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez from the Lions is two guys I've identified. Does Malik Willis want to come or not? We'll find out in March, early March. What quarterbacks do we sign if not Willis? We got to sign somebody. Can we trade Justin Fields for something? If we pay down his salary, can somebody give us a 6th-round pick or something? But then we see how we do in free agency. Then once free agency's over with, then we start getting ready for the draft, which is late April. And then that's the big day, 3 days. We'll probably do live streams from here. And that's when we'll know how our team looks after free agency and after those 3 days of the draft. That's basically our team. There's next waves of free agency and all that, but for the most part, you know what your team is at that point. And we'll start looking at the roster and saying, yeah, we did a great job, or, oh, this is going to be rough. That's the sequence. So it starts this week, really. The draft starts in Mobile, they say, and it's starting this week. And here we are still dicking around without a DC and an OC. So what the hell? Boss Girl says, at this point, leaking that you think the Jets suck to the media is not really a story. I get that they sensationalize everything dramatically to get clicks, but it's not jaw-dropping news. That's true. Murph says, I had season tickets at Shea Stadium. So there you go, stages. Draft day with Frankie. Let's go. Yeah, Warless, I think so. Definitely the first night. We got 2 picks. And we got the first pick of the second round, so we might have 3 picks if we trade back in. So that's pretty exciting. I don't know if I'll do day 2. Maybe I'll do day 1 and day 2. Day 3 is probably a bit of a stretch to do a live stream. But yeah, probably the first 2 days. All right, so that's what's going on. That's what's going on. Thank you for joining this emergency session. Hope it was helpful for you. A bit of a therapy session as the Jets continue to make moves. Will they be good? Will they be bad? We don't know. Let's hope this plan is a little better than the Dutch Vanderlyn plan. As a reminder, in case you missed it, none other than Diana Rossini, after she tweeted the news, and the interesting thing is, she tweeted, the Jets are parting ways with OC Tanner Engstrand per source. She tweeted that. Then, like a minute later, she quote tweeted herself and said, the Jets have a plan, ... stay tuned. So, that being the case, it makes you think something at least decent on paper is going to happen, if that's what Dirty Diana is saying, but we'll have to see what it is. Samini is just promoting his article, which we could go over. I was going to do that if I did a video today. I think his article is pretty bad, but and has some falsehoods in it, but that's rub it in rich for you. So we'll have to see what this plan is. But apparently there is a plan. I mean, the fact that Diana Rossini says there is one, okay. Can we execute on the plan, please? Because time is ticking. But we'll have to see. And we'll be here. In case anything big breaks, we'll go live. Why not? But thank you for joining. Feel free to join the Inner Circle. It's $2 a month. Support old Frankie. We need as much support as possible because we go after the big mainstream media, show you what they really mean, what this really means. Does that really mean this? Does this really mean that? What are they talking about with this? You got to read through the lines. You got to read between the lines. You got to read the tea leaves. You got to know who is a racist and who is not. Like Country Club Connor Hughes certainly is. He only seems to go after black people on the Jets who refuse to do business with him. Denzel Mims, Mekhi Becton, now Aaron Glenn, all getting character assassinated by Country Club Connor. So, I think he should be treated how you would treat any old racist, not too nicely. But that's just my opinion. So we could use your support because Lord knows they have a ton of support. They got lawyers, they got accountants, they got butlers and maids, they got executive assistants, they got producers, they got people to wipe their ass when they take a dump. They got everything. And all we got is you guys. So I appreciate your support, and I will see you.